Hello and welcome to the BWIO Show. We have a special edition with Taking the Stage with Quo and Kristian. So we had an episode with Taking the Stage before, and this is our second time because we're going to be talking all about the coup that happened in the United States. We're going to be talking about racism. We're going to be talking about artistry, musicianship. We're going to be talking about all those things that relate to understanding ourselves in this world and at this time. So I'm just ready to dive in. I guess I can start off with, where were you when you found out about the coup and the storming of the Capitol?
I think we were both at work. I mean, we're still working from home, but I was up to my elbows in budgets. I mean, honestly, I was sitting there working through budgets and getting ready for the spring activities. You know, that's what I was doing. And I didn't really catch it because I wasn't paying attention to my phone. I was like, when I go into budget, Quo knows this about me. You know, budgets bother me. And so they stress me out. And so I get in there and I try to focus and just, try to get it done. And we're making projections and all this kind of stuff. And so I was sitting, at my computer as per usual. And then we went into a staff meeting. And I didn't realize the severity of what was going on until really the staff meeting. Like I had seen like little flickers, people saying, oh, there's a march, there's a protest and all that kind of stuff. But I did not know that there were breaking of windows and that they had breached it and all that kind of stuff. I really didn't. I knew they were planning on march because they've been telling us they were going to do it. I knew they said that they were planning on revolution. They've been saying it. I mean, it's been everywhere. And I knew that, but I was knee deep in the budgeting process. That's what I was working on. And so it wasn't until staff, where we took a moment to acknowledge what was going on. I was like, oh, they have been getting funky out there. What's okay? So I looked at my phone. I was like, oh, so they broke something. Oh, okay. And that's really where I was. Like and not surprised, honestly. Not shocked at how far it went, but I didn't really realize the severity of it until we were in that meeting and they said, let's take some time to acknowledge what's happening at the Capitol. So that's where I was.
I was also at work. I was working on getting background information and applications in for partnerships and things like that for our artists so that we can continue to serve our students, so that we can continue to work with our communities. And so still at work, but my dad, because I live with my family, it's a big family, household of 7, we be live all the time. And so my dad was watching the television and he was keeping up with what was happening. And he actually came out of the room. He was like, well, they're storming the Capitol. And in this, I want to point out that he watches because he has seen these things before.
Mm-hmm.
He watches because he has lived these things before. And so in this, and we'll get to this, like while everybody is all shocked and feelings are hurt and so distraught and so distressed, oh no, I don't know what to say. I'm in this meeting just kind of looking around and this is not America. Those things. He has seen this before. He's lived this before, both my mom and my dad. And so he came out and he was like, well, they're storming the Capitol. And I was like, well, yeah, sounds about right. Mm-hmm. I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, they're wild. Yeah, okay, yeah. And why wouldn't they? And I almost was like, yeah, nobody's stopping them, huh? Oh, why would they? Right. Mm-hmm. And so then, as Kristian said, then we went into a meeting because that was a big day for other reasons. A bunch of other things kind of came down the line that day. So then we went into staff meeting and Ian, he said, I want to acknowledge what is happening. And everybody's just kind of, And we all give our reports and things like that. And being the company culture manager, I also took the opportunity to use what is happening as a very vivid, very real example of why we are doing the work that we are doing.
Yes.
So as we are sitting and we're worried about all these different things, I don't want to have conversations anymore. When do we get to the action? Aren't we done with this? We got to worry about the budget. We don't have time. All those types of things. People are storming the Capitol because they can, because they knew they could, because they knew that their bodies would be protected in ways that others are not.
Yeah,
that's it.
And so as we're looking at this, some will say, what does that have to do with opera? What does that have to do with arts organizations? What does that have to do with anything? And I quote loosely Michelle Ramos in all of her beautiful work. If you're an organization that has people, you are about people, and people engage with different things. I say so often, opera is not exempt from the issues that take place in society because we bring those things with us into organizations. Organizations are made of people. And even now, as we as people are in this meeting, silent, freaking out, trying to process and do all this other stuff, we are not exempt. Nope. We are not exempt, nor are we absolved. And I say we loosely, as Kristian would say. I say we loosely. Nor are we absolved of the ways in which we contribute to the issue.
Yeah.
And that includes excusing it away and calling it, oh, well, it failed, all those different things. But they could do it. Yeah. They could do it. And they did it. It wasn't, they did it. They did not achieve what we think they wanted, whatever that means, whatever conspiracies out there. But they did more than anyone else has because they can. When I say
and they said they're going to do more.
And it's very clear. These are not just white men. So we want to be clear about that, because I always want to make sure we bring in that when we're looking at white supremacy, the fallacy of human hierarchy, the idea that this entire nation is built on, and that everything that is white is better and therefore receives more consideration, the benefit of the doubt, right? We talked about, and then we held space in the offices, of course, or held space at Dallas Opera so that we can kind of process and talk for whomever could hop into the hour for the 2 days or however. Just the benefit of the doubt that is given and the benefit of the doubt that is denied, right? We want to talk about having Skittles in your pocket. We want to talk about having a license and some tea, or having a license, or being asleep. Or crying for your mother who has already passed, as somebody,
or being asleep on your grandmother's couch at 7 years old.
Yeah.
Or that.
Or playing with a toy gun.
In an open carry state.
Yep.
The excuses, nah. No, go for it.
I was at work too. I work at a retail store, and my manager, she just showed me. She was like, "Oh, did you see this?" I was like, "Okay, I don't know what's happening. That's kind of crazy." And then we shut the store down or whatever because we're so close to DC. And I just like, in that moment, I just felt like, okay, very expected. Seems like a natural progression of events from what we've been talking about. And then it's just like, I remember this summer being down at the Capitol. I remember being there at the Capitol, and I'm not talking about like, I'm not like deep into the marching or organizing and things like that. I just was participating, and the police was 50 feet away from the Capitol by themselves that day. They was so far away from the Capitol that it was just like, it was just no way for us to even get that close to the freaking door. In a pandemic. First of all, it's in a pandemic. So just knowing the fear that I felt, and knowing that the social conditioning from the way that we understand our bodies and what we are allowed access to, how people are going to treat us anyway, we already conditioned to not even think about even doing something like that. And now I'm here watching people going in on a day that is important that is a constitutional day, the Constitution that they love so much, a constitutional day that is important for them with all the stuff they love about America, and they going inside the Capitol in a pandemic. So it don't make sense.
Because it makes absolute sense, because here's the thing. when you feel like you have agency to do something, and you have been given agency, and and actually you have been called to do it. You called to arms, okay, by somebody that sits in a very powerful seat. I don't like to say his name. This is what happens. You have been given permission. And that's why I said, for people that look like us, or our brown brothers and sisters, or our indigenous brothers and sisters, we wouldn't have even thought. The thought wouldn't have formed in our mind to go do something like that. We would have purposely stayed away because we knew we would have been shot while getting shot.
Because they
or if it did, somebody else would have called us down. Like if I was like, you know what, I'm going out there right now. It has happened several times for me. It's like there are kids in cages. I'm going over there right now. It's like whoa. Yeah. Because what is that going to actually achieve with you in the way you're just going to be added to the number of people who just get wiped out in different ways, right? I say so often that hashtag means something different for us. That hashtag is a shadow for us in a different way. Being a woman of faith, I know that no weapon formed against me, but I also know what it means to be wise. I also know what it means to use my time, to use my voice, and to use the ways that I engage with others to create something that is beneficial in as much a way as possible. But the thought would not have truly gotten past, hey, man, we're about to go there and do this. And somebody's like, hey, no. But to organize and then to be out there, and then I was about to say they pushed me and they maced me, right? To organize, to go out there, and then to have the experience. And it's not so much agency. I really do call it theme and variations on Manifest Destiny. That's what I call it. Just theme and variations on Manifest Destiny, because to have this experience, this very real, very different experience in this nation where it's okay for you to do that. You are entitled to those things because this is your country. This Constitution is meant to protect you. The ways in which we uphold the law is meant to benefit certain individuals. And then acknowledging that, again, as people were saying, you know, this is not my nation. This is not America. This is not the United States. We're the same United States that put kids in cages. We are the same United States that allowed for the mistreatment and abuse of the Asian community once the pandemic kind of actually hit us, instead of, you know, really just learning about it. We just blamed everybody who was Asian. And then we are the same country that committed double genocide in order to obtain this land. So to say that this is not America, this is not the United States, is such an insult to so many BIPOC communities, because we've been saying this for so long, for generations. This is not something that just came up in the last 4 years. This is generations of unchecked, I was going to say nonsense, right? Unchecked, illogical ideologies about human hierarchy, about privilege, about the idea of that one person is superior to another because of the color of their skin or because of roots and all these other things. So this is not coming out of nowhere. Like you said, it's a very natural progression. It's what is expected to happen. And why wouldn't it be? Right. And so in our experiences in being musicians, of course, we have an obligation to reflect the times. And as Sister Nina said, and what it means for us as organizations to be responsible in a way that centers truth is so necessary in this moment. Not to gloss over it, not to hone in on it as if it is the only problem. It is a symptom.
It's a symptom.
And so we have an obligation.
The question always comes up is, what can we do? You know, what do we do? And I'm like, I feel like this question comes up like every 3 months. And the evidence for that, you know, it's not a lie. I mean, like, really, it feels like every few months, what can we do? This is not us. And you know, organizations are not exempt. You know, the continued shock. And I'm like, when are you going to stop being shocked and then do something? Because here's the thing. Ultimately comes down to this, and I say this on our show, and I say this as often as I can. If you don't understand that what happened the other day is truly where the rubber meets the road, because they have already said they're going to do it again. And the fact that they have been planning this and saying that they were going to do it
and funded
funded
it.
Yes.
They got banked.
They had t-shirts made. They had, I'm serious. Now, this was an organized effort. And the fact that it was ignored by institutions that are supposed to protect that place. And this is supposed to be what you call your sacred institutions, for this nation. Okay, that's what I'm telling you. That's what your history books say. This is what you call. This is what you tell us to have respect for, right? This is what you tell everybody that comes to this nation, is going to live in this nation. You have to have respect for our institutions, right? That's what you say, right? And then they didn't demonstrate that at all. So the hypocrisy is astounding. The hypocrisy of having an American flag and a Confederate flag in the same, you're falling and imploding all over yourselves right now. So there's an identity crisis that's happening right now as well. But the problem is, if you don't know what your identity was in the first place, if you've been fed the lie of racial human hierarchy, if you have been told that everything was great all the time, and BIPOC folks are looking at you saying that's really not the case, but you still believe it because it's in your history books, it's taught in your curriculums, curricula. It's taught in every single thing you do, and it's reiterated in your movies, your TV commercials, all of these things. You see yourself reflected all the time. When I have to look at a shampoo commercial and go, that's not gonna work for my hair.
That's not for me.
That's really real. And the thing is, it's this is not a political problem. People saying this is politics. This is a humanitarian issue. This is a human issue. This is a right to breathe and exist as you are issue.
Yeah.
And the thing is, there are a group of people who are not okay with the fact that BIPOC folks went out and voted, that Black people voted, and those votes counted, and that they mattered.
Right.
And I'm not a political person. I don't get into this stuff because I'm very much a person who gets into human to human, getting together, rolling up our sleeves, and figuring this thing out, right? Dr. Joy DeGruy has a great saying when she says, "Be the healing." That's what I'm about. Be the healing. But the thing is that how do we work with people who have shown time and time again that they do not want to work with us? We have to go work with people who want to work with us and who want to truly problem solve and truly get to the root of this gangrenous infection and clean it out, flush it out, and then bandage it and watch it and monitor it at all times. Because once you clean it out, and you still have to watch for reinfection. It's the same way with addressing racism in this country. It's the same way with addressing misogyny and patriarchy and those people that played second fiddle to the patriarchy. Okay, so we have to remember that when you root out a problem, doctors monitor you for that infection. They don't just say, okay, we flushed it out. They tell you to come back so we can look at that wound again. And you may have to come back over and over and over again. This is the same thing. That is the kind of commitment that you have to take toward a problem that is this huge. The problem that is the root of what this country is. It is the sin that we have not contended with and we have refused to contend with. And so if you don't want to do this, this gangrenous infection will keep coming up and you will keep asking why, and you will keep being shocked and surprised because you don't really want to look at what really happened and then how we can move forward to work it out together.
Right. I feel like
go ahead.
It's always like a focus when things like this happen, when we experience extreme responses to just Black empowerment or Black event, any extreme responses that are just racist. It's always how do I make unity more comfortable for me? So it's how do I get to this unity point? Okay, so what are things that are the same about us in this moment? Nothing right now, honestly.
Well, and I would say the same
we're
thing, not
human
even
beings.
For Black empowerment. I would say, think what they did at Standing Rock. You got water cannons and rubber bullets and tear gas going these people, and all they wanted to do was not have drinking water contaminated. It was an
and
environmental
not have
and
their
a human
treaties
survival
violated.
issue. And
Right.
and this is
And
what I'm
not
saying.
have
So
their
it's
treaties violated.
exactly treaties
Absolutely.
that were signed
And it's
into law, but this shouldn't have to be in the
into
first
law
place because it was their land before any of us got
begin
to
here.
begin with. It
It's
was
So
their
just,
it's
land to
just,
begin with.
it's like, how long are
It's
you going to sit and act like this is not us? You know
mm,
what I mean? And
I
by us, I
say
say
I
us
say
very
as long as
loosely.
people yeah, I say as long as people are allowed to do so, which is why I no
Yeah.
longer allow space for this is not us. It is.
mhm.
And as people ask, what can we do? Don't get me wrong, I'm all about connection, but with connection comes truth, and with truth comes self-reflection and the ability in healing to actually acknowledge those things that are painful. Healing is not a vacation. Healing and self-care is not just all these lovely moments all the time. That is a fallacy that only supports those who have the privilege to live in the dark that way, but still claim to want the light. No, 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 no. And so as we continue to ask, what do we do as organizations? What do we do as musicians? What do we do as all these things? One, for us, for Black folks, make sure you take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Yep.
There are so many layers and so many levels that we have to go through, and there's healing that's necessary within our own community, right? We're not exempt, but the additional layers, and then this extends to BIPOC as well. And the additional layers that come with that, we have to make sure we take care of ourselves, because some things are not our burden to bear, but we
Yep.
do have to make sure that we are healing together, right? And so some things are not our burden to bear, but then in a lot of cases, it is our space to take.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
And so as we balance that out, and as others ask, well, what can we do? What do we do? Acknowledge truth. And that is the entire truth. You cannot say that this is not the United States. It is.
Mhm.
It is. We are built on genocide. We are built on the enslavement of people who were stolen from their homes.
Mhm.
Stolen from their homes, whose records, whose lives, whose genealogy, lost, all of it.
Yep.
So we're not going to play games and pretend like we've just been, that exceptionalism gets us in trouble. We're not going to pretend like we have not been in a society that is built on the fallacy of white supremacy, because we have. It has not been so long since segregation was legal.
Yes.
Like legally. And I was telling my staff as well, in the ways in which other nations, right? We always talk about Nazis are bad. Other nations learned from us
They did.
how to legally
Mhm.
separate and disenfranchise.
Yep.
So we're this fallacy of, or this kind of double consciousness, right? In which we are saying on one side, this is who we are, and then on the other side, ignoring everything else that is created where we are,
Yeah.
continues to provide the opportunity for people to feel like they can do whatever they want because they've seen it. Time and time again, they've seen the ways that one person is treated and somebody else is not treated that way. We've seen the ways in which people are able to just walk up to police officers and yell and mace and with armed, right? Mind you,
Yeah.
armed,
Right.
and do all of these things. And this is not to dismiss the very real and very necessary work that some of our police officers do, because their Blue Lives Matter kind of went out the window. You know,
They
back to
sure
blue
did when
kind
it
of
was up
was
on
just,
Capitol Hill. They was beating them, and I mean, come on. And I'm like, well, where was that?
and
And that's
so
why I said
it
you're
Like
just
literally
closing in
proves.
on
killing them.
yourselves.
Not
That's why I
like
said that
Yeah,
killing
it proves that that's not what it was about. It's
that's not what it
never
was
been
about.
about that.
No.
So
And
acknowledge truth, learn, and then sit and listen, right?
yeah,
And then do something about it. You got to sit with that discomfort. And the way that you say, like, oh, how do we create unity that's comfortable for me? I don't want to feel uncomfortable, but why is we talking about unity? Let's not talk about divisive things. Let's actually kind of get together. But what that does is silences those who are telling you that we are not unified. And
yeah.
this
there's an
is
old
why.
preacher who used
So
to
we
say, you
can
going along to get along. And
just
we
to get
can no
along.
longer go along to get along.
No.
Because why?
No.
Because the thing is, there are people who have suffered in silence, just trying to maintain the peace, who have said, you know what, we can deal with a little less. As long as we don't have this, we can deal with a little less. Well, that's not the case anymore. This pandemic has brought up all of the filth to the surface, and you still have people going, they're still in denial.
Right.
And that just simply can't happen. This is not the time. And I'll say this too. When you say this is not us, it tells me that you are not really familiar. And this entire time that you thought that BIPOC folk was lying. This entire time, like we've just been making it up this entire time. So when you say this is not us, I say, we've tried to tell you. And the other thing is that you're right. This is us, and I use us very loosely, but it does not have to be us.
Right.
So as Quo says, we can get through this together, but there are some people who have to move faster and who have to come to a little more knowledge, actually a lot more knowledge, more quickly in order for that to get done. And that is not BIPOC folks. We're experiencing this all the time.
Right.
And so there are some people that have to make the effort. You have to make the effort. And unfortunately, the arts are not exempt. We get caught up in the beauty that we create on the stage. You know, we get caught up in those long Puccini and Legati and all this just beautiful things. And yes, it's gorgeous. But the thing is that if we just continue to focus on that and not reflect what's going on in our society, then we are failing as what we're supposed to do as artists and arts institutions. You have to remain relevant some way, somehow. And I'm not saying that it's going to happen overnight. In fact, I would prefer that it didn't happen overnight, because usually when you start slapping things together overnight, there are holes. It becomes a superficial effort to correct a wound that is not superficial. Check box. Pokemon, gotta catch them all.
Like Pokemon, right? Like I say all the time, like Pokemon, trying to catch them all. And even if it's not relevant, real. Right? Because relevant has become this buzzword. It's like, oh, and to other people that flips into income, that flips into revenue, that flips into surviving and having your organizations mean something, but real. Something that is real, and the ways that we as artists, the ways that we as musicians and as arts organizations, as service organizations, that we actually center what is real. And the ways that we actually center our own responsibility, because we have it, and what it means to use this art form the way it was used, by acknowledging the fact that in this nation we have an issue. And if we just default to, oh no, let's just focus on the music, again, you're silencing people.
You're silencing people.
You become the oppressor.
Yes.
That does not mean that everybody should speak and everybody has a voice in every space, because that is not absolutely true. There are some spaces where I should not speak because that is not my place to do so. And what it means to embrace and understand that you're not entitled to everybody's everything.
Yes.
One, we're not entitled to everybody's everything. But if we are arts organizations, and we are nonprofit arts organizations on top of that, and organizations that are using an art form to serve others, people should have access to us.
Yes.
People, we are here for people. People have access to us, which means that we have to be mindful of what we are putting out for others and the ways that we create and the environments that we use when we are creating things. We can say that we're creating all this beautiful music and all these wonderful, amazing experiences, but what about the people who are on your stage? What about people in your audiences? What about people in your offices? And I put up a post the other day, and I'm dead serious about it. This is not the time to begin listing all the amazing things that you've been doing. This is not that time. This is the time for us to actually take a look at what we need to do, and to take a look at the things that are necessary, not so you can list everything and prove everybody wrong, because in the end, that's what you're trying to do, and absolve yourself.
Yes.
Organizations don't do that. Do not do that.
Do not do that.
Take a look. Take a look and actually see what people are saying. People are bringing things up because we see that what you're doing is not real. It's not enough. It's not working.
And it's not working.
We have to be real, and we have to be honest.
And I think that one of the most important things to me is like nuancing the conversation about how white supremacy has been working. So it's like, you can't default to Trump all the time. It's not like a Trump issue. He's not some kind of antichrist person who's came and caused these problems. It's much more intricate than that. It's much more nuanced.
It's a symptom.
It's like literally just like the tip of the iceberg, honestly.
Yes. This didn't just occur in the past 4 or 5 years. This has been brewing since the inception of this country. Since before the inception of what would become this country, it has been brewing. And I think the other thing, to your point, Quo, there's nothing wrong with creating beautiful art. There's nothing wrong with beauty. Look, if people start producing Puccini, I would probably cry. So please don't stop doing that.
I'd go find a way to do it. Actually,
Okay?
I'd go find a way to get some poutine out there.
Don't do that. Okay,
I'm gonna make it happen.
We're gonna do Bohem in my backyard. I mean, it's something. But my point is that that's not the only thing that there is.
Mm-hmm.
And that it is high time that we start recognizing that, particularly in a country that is so melting potish as America. That is not a word, but you get where I'm headed with that.
Yeah.
It is a melting pot of ideas in different backgrounds. And I quote Dr. Joy DeGruy again. She talks about how America is a great. The U.S. is a great experiment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But how is this experiment going to turn out? And that's where you have to choose. We have to choose who we are as individuals. Choose who you want to be. We have to choose who you are as organizations. Who do you want to be? You have to choose who you want to be as a nation that claims to embrace people of all backgrounds, religions, colors, and all that kind of stuff. Are we really going to do that? Are we really going to do that? Okay. Are we really ready to do that? You know, if you're coming, come on. But right now, we are not at a point right now, like there is enough evidence. There's plenty of evidence. There's too much evidence. There's been, and the evidence is on tape and it's shown, right here. And I fear, somebody said, what do you hope will come from this? Like, what kind of healing do you hope will come from this? And I said, I had a hard time coming up with something because I said, I hope people listen this time.
Yeah.
That was one of my prompt questions.
But I'm not. But I'm not going to hold my breath, and it saddens me to say that. It saddens me to say that. But there's just too much evidence. There's a preponderance of evidence that things have happened like this before. Similar things have happened before, and people haven't listened.
Right.
And they go back to normal. In 2 months. People are like, remember that crazy thing that happened on early January. That's what I'm afraid of, and that's, like I said, I hope that folks listen, and I hope that it leads to some sort of change, and I hope people start taking these kinds of threats seriously.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, we've seen other things happen where they forgot about George Floyd. They got tired of feeling guilty and got tired. I put the black square up.
Yeah.
I put Black Lives Matter. I put that frame on my Facebook, profile pic. I did all that stuff. I donated some money over here. Okay, I feel like I've done what I can do. We learned about Juneteenth, all of these different things. And then all of a sudden it's back to business as usual. And Quo talks about all the time, and especially in her line of work, when you are doing work that is dealing with culture, and that is dealing with racial healing, and that is dealing with EDI, and dealing with, equitable conditions for all, it is a commitment.
Yeah.
It's the same way that doctor commits to getting that infection out of you and monitoring it and making sure those antibiotics are working and that cleaning worked and getting those bandages, rebandaging it over and over again until it heals. It's going to take work. And this is a 500-year-old wound.
Mm-hmm.
500 plus.
Yes. So do you think it's not going to take time to heal? Just because they passed civil rights laws doesn't mean
nothing. Yeah.
Hearts have to change. This is heart work. It's hard work and heart work.
We say it all the time. This is heart work. This is work of the heart. This is work that requires a lifelong commitment. It will not be solved in our lifetimes.
Mm-mm.
And for those who feel like it can be rushed, no.
Yeah.
And that is
you
okay.
have to lay the foundation right. The foundation has to be laid.
That daily choice, those daily decisions, and then those big decisions and those small decisions. It takes us being committed to creating something we ourselves have never experienced.
Yes, we've never seen.
Truly, not since they came over here, right?
Yeah.
Has there been any type of unity? Truly, no. Not beyond maybe the first few months.
Mad at somebody else. That's why they came over in the first place.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And then drag people over here,
Mm-hmm.
and then open the gate so that other people can come in. Right. We want to be mindful of that and the differences and the nuances that are necessary for us in our approach and how we start to heal. One blanket across all of it is not going to solve it. Wanting to have a few diversity trainings, not going to solve it. Yeah. Wanting to have even a year of it, not going to solve anything. There's so much to learn and so much to do There's so much truth that must be told, and in so many ways in which we ourselves have to break out of our own comfort. And those with greater privilege who benefit from this white supremacy system have to break out of comfort.
Yeah.
Discomfort is not the same as oppression. I say so often. Discomfort is not the same as oppression, right?
not.
Being uncomfortable and your feelings compared to not being able to access the things you need to live your life.
Like
To live.
like food.
Like
Clean water.
like
Clean
health
air.
care. Like fair health care, as all three of us being Black women, like health care, right? And being able to be paid what you should be paid, being able to walk down the street, being able to sleep in your home, being able to play the PlayStation with your nephew.
Being able to just simply breathe. Can we breathe?
To breathe. Right. And so as we go through this process of processing, right, what happened on Wednesday, I urge everyone and I encourage everyone to seek truth in a way that builds on the things that we've already done, that builds on the things that we've learned. You cannot go to sleep, if you will, right? You can't sleep on this. You can't allow this to default, because the default is the white supremacy system. Default is encouraging and uplifting white privilege. Default, and doing it the way we've always done it, this is how it's always been, is only going to continue to perpetuate what's been happening. And we don't want that, right? We can't say that we want to create equitable positions. We can't say that we want to share in belonging when we know that the system that we're in does not tell everyone that they belong. It communicates that you literally do not belong. It communicates that your body is not valued in the same way as others. So we have to be mindful of that, and we have to be honest. And then we have to be vulnerable and courageous enough to get past that discomfort so that we can get to the truth. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Well, and understanding also that this is going to look and feel different. This is going to challenge you in ways you've never thought you'd be challenged.
Yeah.
But the pandemic has already done that. So let's gear up.
Might as well.
Come on.
Use those muscles.
Use those muscles. This is also going to have you questioning things that were told to you by people you love and adore and had respect for. This is going to be looking at uncomfortable truths in your family's history and looking directly at how it affects now. And it's going to reflect, and it's going to be you asking yourself who you are within all of that, and how you bring that into your arts organization, into your service organizations, into wherever you work and wherever you live and wherever you go to church. It's going to be all of those things. But the thing is, we know what's been happening up until this point, and the systems that have been in place are not working. Not for everybody.
They're working the way they're supposed to.
They're working the way they're supposed to.
Which is how we got to Wednesday.
Exactly. That's exactly. It's worked exactly how people say the system is broken, and I say no. It's working exactly how it was supposed to work to benefit a group of people who don't look like the three of us. And so that's just the way it is. But the thing is that it does not have to be that way.
Right.
This is a human issue. This is a human issue where for the right to exist on this earth as you were put here. This is what this is. And if you can't see that as the root of things and what that needs to be, then that's the problem.
Yeah.
That is a part of the problem.
Both of y'all saying like we can now choose who we want to be. And I feel that is a challenge to everyone that's involved. Like, you are also responsible. So don't think because that you have some education and you in the arts and whatever this is not your fight. This is your fight because it's like you said, a human experience. But we can choose who we want to be. This is a beautiful opportunity to choose who we want to be.
Yes.
And I hope we're gonna choose something that's much more beautiful than what we have been experiencing.
Agreed. Amen.
I refuse to play with y'all anymore. I'm just not playing. We don't have time.
And you're not alone in that, because either you're going to have to choose either way, but know that those who are choosing connection, those who are choosing truth, those who are choosing to honor humanity and to honor the beautiful things that we bring in all of our beautiful and different experiences, we are already together.
Yes, and we are already
real. It is real, and it is something that is contagious. So I invite you into this circle. I invite you, not even the circle, I invite you into this world, right?
Mm-hmm.
But know that everybody's suffering from this system that we're in right now.
Yes.
Those people
Even
who are
if you
marching
don't know
still
it,
suffering.
they still
I say
suffering.
marching. Those people who are rising, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those who were
Seditionists,
laying siege, right,
domestic
against
terrorists.
the Capitol, the terrorists who were against the Capitol, they're still suffering as well.
Mm-hmm.
And we can either choose to suffer in a way that continues to divide us, or we can choose to come together and to heal. That does not mean there won't be any suffering, right? Does not, nobody told me that the road would be
easy. Amen.
right.
Oh,
But it definitely allows us the support, the connection, the drive, right? The reason, the purpose to continue this work. So I invite people to kind of shake loose the things that don't serve all of us, to shake loose the things that are not serving you, because it's not.
No.
To shake loose that faux protection, that false sense of security that is actually you probably just oppressing other people so that you can feel good about whatever's happening. Shake it loose. And I'm not talking about the ways in which we cope. Some of those are problematic as well. But I'm not talking about, oh, it's just a coping mechanism. I sent an email. I didn't pay attention to what was going on. But understand that even that is a privilege, because some of us had to see it and choose not to care, which is perfectly okay, because I can't do nothing about them people out there. But some of us also still had to acknowledge the ways that we are affected on either side.
Yep.
Bringing in a new president, bringing in a new cabinet, all of that, it won't change anything if we're not changing hearts. It's not our obligation to change hearts, but it doesn't mean anything if people don't put in the hard work. And so I encourage everybody, just stay vigilant, but at the same time, choose what you want to do.
Choose who you want to be.
Speak truth and be it, and be about it. Just, you got to be about this life. I say it often. You got to be about this life. This is not a fun summer project.
No.
This is not a certification to put on your resume so that you can make more. No, this is real.
Yeah.
And it should be, because it's worth it.
Yeah. Yeah, I love everything we talk about. I think we're gonna do part 2 at Taking the Stage. Or whatever we're gonna talk about. But yeah, I just love the conversation, and I feel like a little bit more hopeful, because going, like, experiencing that day, living in DC, like worrying about how my mom gonna get home from the city, like marches continuously happen throughout DC and for over the last couple of months. Like you said, it was like literally they've been like having protests or riots or whatever very often here, very, very often. And just understanding that, it makes you feel a little bit frustrated and a little bit hopeless. But I feel like coming together and having these conversations and being mindful that we're not alone in this fight, and there is things that we can do, like loving on ourselves and choosing who we want to be, to just move forward as a people. So so I thank y'all.
Thank you for having us.
Yes. Where can we find Taking the Stage? Where can we find y'all? What are y'all working on?
Go ahead.
Okay, cool. I was default. We are co-hosts of Taking the Stage with Kristian and Quo. So you can actually always find us on Thursdays at 1 p.m. Central through the Dallas Opera TDO network. You can follow Dallas Opera. Please feel free to follow me at Quo Johnson. That's all it is. Both Facebook and Instagram, as well as my new upcoming series, Equity with Quo. And then you can also follow Kristian. I'm gonna give them
follow
information.
You can follow me on Instagram and Facebook. Facebook is just Kristian Roberts. Instagram is KSRoberts254. You can catch me there. You can send me an email at any point. I'm around, and happy to answer questions. Please feel free to DM me or anything like that if you have questions. I do education consulting work and program advising and all that kind of stuff. So I'm happy to do things like that. Just within in any questions like that, happy to jump aboard and talk a little business. So you can find me there, or you can just email me directly, and that's where you can find us. I mean, that's where we are.
They saying it, honey. They saying it, y'all. So don't be jumping on my page. Worry about what I'm to you. These are professional, okay? they professional. But no, thank y'all so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us, Renee.